Y'all wanted Cooke and you wanted Sale, and I'm bringing them both to you in Superman Confidential #1. Thanks for joining me today. My name is Daryl, and I'm the host of Read Your Comics, and I'm capping off a 5-day streak of nothing but Superman as we head to the theaters to see James Gunn's new Superman movie. As I'm recording this, the early online reviews are coming out, and it's looking pretty good. I mean, I was already hype about the movie, but so far I'm seeing nothing but positive reactions. But I'm not here to talk about that right now. I'm here to talk about legends Darwyn Cooke and Tim Sale. Both powerhouses, both gone way too early. They collabed on a Superman project, and man, are they a perfect fit for each other or what? Now, I'm only looking at the first issue of this. I believe it was a 5-issue storyline. It is collected in trade paperbacks out there that I think are in print. If it is, I'll definitely try to send some links in the description where you can find it. Always hit up your local comic shop first. And before we get into it, I want to remind you that I have a Superman playlist. You can find it right here. Catch up on all the previous Superman videos I've done. I've been doing one every other week since early January when the first trailer dropped, and I'm just kind of capping off the movie week with this 5-day run. That doesn't mean I'm not going to keep doing Superman videos, but I am going to take a little break after this because I got some other things I want to cover. Also, if you haven't subscribed, be sure to do that. You wouldn't believe how many return viewers I have that are not subscribed. So make sure that you've done that. Double check, look, and say, hey, I like this guy's content. Better make sure I'm subscribed. Otherwise, one day YouTube stops giving you my stuff and you'll just think that I quit. But I didn't. I'm still here. All right, let's jump in. The premise of this book is this is the post-crisis first time Superman sees Kryptonite. I'm not exactly sure how that works into the Byrne story or if it was supposed to be kind of aside from continuity. It wasn't quite clear, but it is a pretty self-contained Superman story that kind of meshes with that John Byrne Man of Steel reboot, like timeline, but maybe conflicts with it a little bit. Either way, it can be read independently on its own and enjoyed without getting into too much, minutia of which era of Superman this actually takes place in. But the cover being this bright green, you see an exploding Krypton behind him or something exploding, right? But it's green. That should indicate that it is Kryptonite of some sort. Tim Sale, of course, he did Superman for All Seasons with Jeff Loeb about probably 5 or so years before they did this one. So he's very familiar with the character already. That was a coming of age story, and I think it's maybe going to be touched on a little bit, but that was like an origin story, and this is in the first year or so of Superman, being an active superhero. Darwyn Cooke, of course, I don't know of any other Superman that he did specifically other than New Frontier, but that's not really a Superman story. Superman is in it. He plays a pretty big role in it. He has some great moments in it, but it's not really a Superman specific story. So Cooke getting to just write a straight up Superman story, this may kind of stand as a unique project in that regard. But let's go ahead and dive in. Now, this first issue moves quick. It's very light. It's a lot of big panels, minimalist on like the narration. Cooke himself is an artist, so he doesn't try to get overly verbose. And that plays into Tim Sale as well. And here we go. We see Krypton exploding, the Superman rocket leaving. This is not the John Byrne Superman rocket that we see. Tim Sale definitely just getting to draw this retro looking rocket the way he wants to draw it. And we see the chunks of Kryptonite falling with the rocket to Earth, going in separate directions. You have some narration here that if you've read New Frontier will feel very reminiscent of the main antagonist of that, the Center. Almost like something sentient that shouldn't seem sentient. And that's what we're getting here. The Kryptonite lands in what looks like some desolate region of Earth, and you see these people that I don't know what their nationality necessarily is supposed to look like. I mean, you see mountainous region and stuff, and the way they're dressed in kind of colder weather clothes. Tim Sale not being overly kind of indescript nationality, I guess you would say. And then you just see a big slab of Kryptonite stuck that these people are going to go find. And they drag it back to their temple. I mean, now that I'm looking at it, this does seem a little bit more like Tibetan monks, perhaps. So somewhere in Southeast Asia. And the narration says, I come to rest with the hearts of these sweet and peaceful energies. Now we're going to get to Metropolis and get some quick action. It's a Superman book. We don't want to go too many pages without seeing Superman. We get the Royal Flush Gang here. This truck of liquid nitrogen flying through. This is where I'm saying we're going to have like big panels. This is Tim Sale. He does this in pretty much all of his work, but stuffs the panels full of like great backgrounds. I mean, you can see the water tower in the back there. I don't think that's supposed to be the Daily Planet. Good perspective of the large character, the ace, in the foreground here with the king and queen on their like little floating cards that they ride on. And they're betting whether or not Superman is going to show up. Now, that's a big bet because, as we'll quickly learn, Superman's only been around for, I think, a few months or so, it even says here. What a shot, though. What a great 2-page spread. Look at all of the people as they're in awe of Superman. The way his cape is flowing. This is just an awesome, iconic looking Superman intro into the book. Kryptonite. There's your storyline title. And our narration's going to really humanize Superman, much like For All Seasons did. To my friends and colleagues, I'm just a farm boy in the big city trying to make his mark. To the rest of Metropolis, I've become a protector, a symbol of hope. Me, I just hope I don't screw it up. Look, Tim Sale even had to sign that one. He knew that was a good page. Cool perspectives here. Feels very, Kirby-like with his big hands in the foreground as he's trying to catch this liquid nitrogen and fly it up into the upper atmosphere, I suppose. Royal Flush Gang looks pretty cool. Throughout this issue, we only see him for these couple of pages. They don't play a huge part. And I only read this first issue to make this video, so I don't really remember how much of a role they continue to play. But again, like I said, narration sparse, dialogue very brief, letting the artwork tell the story. And really, Darwyn Cooke's art style, he has that like very open animated style as well. If you compared this to A New Frontier, the panel layouts are very similar. Sale and Cooke, who, very distinct on their own, but their panel layouts and their sensibility of storytelling is pretty similar. So some physics stuff kind of happening here with the nitrogen shooting out of the tanker and starting to freeze Superman's hand. He just kind of crushes the metal around it to close up the leak. And another great perspective shot of the sword coming to the fore. This came out around the time of Superman Returns and the Donner cut being released. I like this action shot here of the explosion from where the King of Hearts shot his sword beam, whatever it was. Superman, whenever he gets hit with something like this, the look on his face isn't necessarily pain. It's almost more like shock and surprise. And it throws him off balance enough for the Jack, I guess, to throw some knives. And immediately the king realizes that's not a good idea. All right. A jarring ad placement here for this Teen Titans. He just stuck in the middle of this book. Insert, kind of obnoxious. And I'm not really saying that as a quality of this Teen Titans stuff. It's just it throws off the flow of this Tim Sale artwork. So, we're halfway through the book now, and we're still really in the first few moments of the story. If this were like an animated movie, we're still within the first like 2 or 3 minutes of the movie. So the Jack throws these daggers, and it causes the liquid nitrogen to explode, sending like chunks of ice out. And it lands on Ace here. You don't really see him under this, so I'm not quite sure what happened to him there. But it definitely seemed to wrap up this whole thing, because then we're cutting over to ice in a champagne bucket, which is a nice transition of the ice to the ice. Big widescreen panels here as we pan out of him pouring champagne. And it's Clark and Lois. Well, it's not even Clark, because she doesn't know yet. It's Superman and Lois having a nice romantic encounter here. Panning out more, and it's on the Eiffel Tower. The narration here, very sparse once again, is kind of saying how he doesn't really deserve Lois. He doesn't know how to act around Lois. Again, humanizing Superman as much as you can. Cut to the Daily Planet. Nice big open shots of Perry with Lois, Clark, and Jimmy on the roof. Great detail on his face, like around his eyes and stuff. You really see kind of the crow's feet, the wisdom, wisdom lines all around his face. That he has this speech about how like the story is of Metropolis. She's the story. And it seems so cornball, and Lois calls him out for it right away. And it was pretty solid. So now it's going to start setting up the real plot of the story. There's another like billionaire. It's not Lex Luthor, another guy coming into town to build this like casino hotel stuff. Perry thinks he's not on the up and up, and he wants the three of them to look into it. But the reason he took them to the roof is because he doesn't trust everybody else to not leak information to this guy. He doesn't want this guy to know that they're looking into him so that they can try to, cover up any sketchy activity that they're up to. And he says the three of them are the only ones that he can trust. And you get this stern look on all their faces. Look at those expressions. Here, Perry says, I need people I know are clean, who can't be bought. I figure that's you three. And they get all serious after kind of busting his chops for a second. Look at these faces. And so they decide, yeah, we're on it. What are we going to do? And probably your most narration here is they're setting up like a stakeout with, an apartment across the way to like monitor everything with whatever equipment Jimmy needs. Lois here, always the feisty Lois. She's sitting on her desk, handing papers to other people and stuff. Her job is going to be to act like she's interviewing the guy directly, and Perry wants her to say that it's like she's being punished for some other thing, that she's having to do a puff piece on him. And this is where we meet the antagonist, Tony Gallo. Kind of looks a little like Tony Stark with an earring. I don't know if that was intentional or they just wanted him to look a little on the like shady, fancy European side or something. He's even got a little twirl in his mustache there. And he's saying some shady stuff too here. He's pointing out how the media is kind of combining the playing card gang, would make sense, with this casino opening up. And he's even saying, like, do something to get the media's attention away from us. And I said, like, what? I said, I don't know, have a celebrity killed or find a two-headed kitten, anything just to take their short attention span off of us. And then you've got Lois and Phone and Jimmy and Clark just kind of testing the equipment. I mean, Sale makes this whole scene look interesting with great facial expressions. I mean, Lois is cocky as ever. Clark looking very different from Superman with his glasses and slick back hair. All of it looks great. Good moment here, too, with a news report about a volcano erupting somewhere, and Jimmy's pointing out, like, oh man, that's pretty scary, isn't it, Mr. Kent? And you see Clark bothered that he's doing this instead of being able to take off as Superman. Yeah, it's pretty scary. He wants to go take care of that volcano. Classic looking newsroom here, too, the way all the men are dressed with these wide ties kind of loosened out, hanging around Lois's desk, high waisted pleated pants, suspenders. I mean, Sale and Cooke have a timeless aesthetic. It's always a mix of modern with mid-century modern and even like 1930s and 40s decor. So it puts it in this like vague time period. There's cell phones, there's computers, but men are dressing like they're from the 30s and stuff. So, but it always adds to that timeless appeal to it. Then we see Gallo getting a call from Lois Lane, or a message from Lois Lane. And at first he's saying, no, like, just get rid of her. And then he sees her picture and is like, oh, actually, no, go ahead and send a car to pick her up. And as we'll see, he's got this green ring right here. And that's our cliffhanger. So, a lot of setup in this issue. As a single issue, I don't think it's great as like a single chapter. The whole story plays a lot better. But this is one of those things where you wonder if they should have just made this a graphic novel from the start instead of doing these like single issue bites. Because as an audience, I guess we've kind of trained ourselves to accept this format. But I let my kids read this, for instance, when I pulled it out I was going to make a video on it. They saw it and they're like, oh, that looks interesting. One of them took it to bed and read it. And I was like, oh, did you like it? And he was like, yeah, I liked it. But he's like, it was so short. Nothing really happened. So that's where you kind of lose some audience. And he wasn't like, where's the second issue? He's just, it's almost like it made him lose interest in it. But he did like the art in it. He was really taken by the ads for the other movies in there and how different the Brandon Routh Superman looked. They've never watched that one, which was kind of funny in itself. Anyway, you can't go wrong with Darwyn Cooke writing and drawing if he's doing that. But if he's not going to draw, to be paired up with Tim Sale, excellent choice. Definitely check out the rest of this in a trade paperback. It's a solid story overall. This is your preview to jump into it. You see the stage, all the little chess pieces put in place for the bigger story. I recommend it. And that's it for Superman week. This is day 5, and as I said, I'm going to take a little break from Superman, but I'll get back to it. I'm going to be doing more Byrne issues. I do want to do the Mike Allred, Mark Russell, Superman Space Age at some point. If there's anything else in particular Superman you'd like me to look at, go ahead and drop it in the comments so I kind of know what you guys are looking for out of the channel. Until next time, read your comics.